some new dashboarding features. So let's just open this sample report here. Another really cool thing that IBM added to its forecasting capabilities, and again, this is all part of the with Watson moniker, right? This truly is a product that rolls up under Watson now, just like planning analytics, and they're using better Watson-based engines for even forecasting. So if we look at, let's look at something that has some forecasting capabilities here. Historical trends, of course, that makes sense. So you'll see there's a new little button up here, the analytics button, right? So right now, I'm in a dashboard. I'm not in edit mode. I'm just in normal consumer mode, and I still have this new button here for analytics, okay? If I were to select, for example, something with a forecast on it or insights, even not being in edit mode, I can now enable forecasts and I can enable insights, again, without having to have the capability to edit anything. So that's kind of cool. But another thing that's really important to point out is the optional factors to consider here, right? 0 out of 5. We don't have anything added to this yet. I'm about to add something, but basically IBM just rolled out the ability to basically use for their forecasting, not just univariate, but multivariant forecasting. So let me show you what that might look like. So let's edit this thing. We'll maximize it. We'll go into the fields. Let me select it first. And we'll go into the fields and maybe it's properties. It should be fields. All right, so you can now drag and drop using that new analytics button. You can drag and drop other factors to consider. And the way that that works, actually, let me see which fields these are built off of. So these are all customer analysis fields. So let's pop in and we'll throw a few more things from the customer analysis table in here. So we know that we've got the as our measure here, we can see that we have the number of policies, right? So maybe we have a hunch that maybe customer lifetime value and maybe the number of months since the last claim or the number of policies are also playing into this somehow. So I'm just going to drag each one of those onto this optional factors to consider. And you can do, you can do a maximum of 5 optional, multivariant sort of flavors to it. And what it does is it has the potential here to create better forecasts. Because if there's a correlation, if there's some sort of dependency or correlation or impact from those measures on this forecast, it'll actually change the forecast and show these as the optional factors that have been considered in it. So when we hover over, it actually shows us those factors that were considered. The new additions, right? And then if we even click, this is new as well, right? If you click on the statistical details, it's going to take you to
oh yeah, the forecast explainer. Cool.
Yeah, and again, this means something to some people, maybe not to, I know that MACE is a very important, measure when you're talking to a data scientist about how, accurate the forecast is, right? What makes that up? I'm not quite sure. But you can, one thing that's important to note here is that you can go all the way over to the right here and see in the notes what sort of forecast it was using. So apparently, these optional factors didn't have any impact on our number of policies. And I can tell that because I look at the notes and I see it says not multivariate, but univariate. So again, IBM giving you, using more of the Watson stack to give you the ability to do multivariate forecasts that could yield, much more accurate, much more interesting, much more, non-obvious sorts of forecasts. I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really exciting to me to see because I know probably a number of people who are watching right now have seen at one point or another an IBM roadmap presentation, or maybe worked with the design team in Ottawa. And this is one thing I'm going to give a shout out to Efruz from IBM for shepherding this one through the analytics panel. I think I would venture to guess the first iteration of what you're going to see on the analytics panel. And if the things I've seen in design are still coming down the pipeline, this is really going to become a really powerful place to build on what they've done here, to give you more and more control over what forecasts look like, and the ability to do scenario modeling and all that stuff. I think is potentially in play, right? Roadmap conversation potentially in play based on some of the designs we've seen in the past. And so it's really exciting to see that foundation of the analytics panel make it into dashboards.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with Watson, it's living up to its name.
Exactly.
So that's great. All right, so let's jump out of here, and we're going to show something else that should add a lot of value for a lot of people, and that is cascading filters. So in dashboards now, we can actually utilize cascading filters.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? Something that seems so obvious that just took a little bit to kind of make its way into the product, but a huge add in my mind. So what that looks like, again, using just this sample dashboard here. Throw it in edit mode. All right. All right, so let's take a look and see which table these visualizations are stemming from. All right, catch up with me, Sandbox.
There you go.
All right, sales. Okay. So what we're going to do, we'll just use sales, and we'll actually just we'll add it to this tab here, since we already got a bunch of stuff in the all tab. But we'll let's use geography, some sort of geography flair here. So let's see, we'll add country, state, city. I don't know why I can't control click right now, but we'll go around that. So we'll add country manually, state. I think I'm just being impatient with this sandbox. Yep, I'm being impatient.
Yeah. Well, it's guaranteed to happen anytime you have an audience, Craig. That's one of the rules of doing demos.
No doubt. There must be people watching.
Exactly.
It's a good way to know Big Brother's spying on you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Bit of a manual slog, but we'll get there. All right. So we added kind of this flair of geography, right? Where it's, I mean, you can think about this as a hierarchy, really, right? Where you've got country at the top, then down to state or province, then down to city, then down to postal code. So what you can do now, and it doesn't matter which order you add these things, it'll actually adjust itself based on the order that you add them to the canvas, or to the cascade set. So we'll do it from left to right first. But if you add it to the cascade set, and then you go to the next one, add it to the cascade set, add to the cascade set, add to the cascade set, all your downstream cascading filters will be filtered based on what you're doing upstream. So for example, if we wanted to exclude, Germany, Canada, and the UK, and just click the US, we can now see that our province or state values are limited to just US states, right?
This is great.
It is great. It's about time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is awesome.
And another cool thing too is that you can do this in reverse, actually. So, you could also do it the opposite way. So if I wanted to deconstruct this and just remove everything and do it from the bottom up instead of the top down, for example, say, I don't know, you had a use case that required that. And we'll get rid of our United States selection there. But if we wanted to add, again, I'm intentionally choosing the bottom first. So I'm choosing postal code and adding it to the Cascade set. Now, when I add a second one here, it's going to flip the order. I don't know if you saw
Oh,
that,
great.
right?
Yep.
And see how it's grayed out around it. So I can keep doing that. And again, it naturally, again, because we're reading from left to right, it naturally realigns them, in the manner in which we read, right? At least here, right? So, so again, same sort of a thing. If we wanted to narrow it down on a particular area code, let's say Colorado Springs, Colorado, which I happen to know off the top of my head. It's filtering it that way, that direction as well.
That's awesome. This is such a useful addition to dashboards. It's really, people often talk about the things that are in reporting that they wish were in dashboards, and I think this one is very high on the list. So to see it delivered in this release is just great.
No doubt. And yeah, I mean, it's about time, right? Like
Yes.
these are things that you can do in reporting that, it was one of those use cases a lot of the times where you were like, okay, I've got to do this cascading filter. I better take this, dashboard into reporting. Now you can actually leave it there, which is wonderful. Just makes dashboarding more useful.
That's a great point too. I mean, I think over time they are kind of narrowing down the reasons to leave dashboarding, right? And so that's really great. We do have a question from Zach. He asks, so what does it look like outside of edit mode? Is it still in the gray box when you leave edit mode?
Let's find out. Good question, Zach. It is. So again, that gray box always indicates that you've got a cascading set. And again, it works either, whether you've got it in the all tabs or the this tab, same sort of functionality.
And so then you could have multiple cascading sets. Is that true? Okay,
you can.
cool.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you want to kind of keep them out of the same sort of hierarchy, but
yeah.
Or maybe you don't if you're clever. Yeah, I mean, you can throw time in here and geography and it'll work, the same way.
That's great. That's really cool. That alone, I think, removes one of the objections to dashboards, right? It's just
totally,
yeah, make the filters so much more useful because it was such a pain before to look at filter A and then it's not filtering out the values in filter B. It was just painful, and so
no doubt. All right, we're going to pop back over to this visualization gallery dashboard, and we're going to look at, there have been a couple of new charts, or modified charts, I should say, included in this release. So the bar chart, the area chart, and the tree map in particular. But let's see. Yeah, let's just show quickly the bar chart change. A small thing, but it might, be really meaningful for some. And once again, I'm being impatient. But if we're going to select this bar chart, we're going to go into edit mode. All right, we're going to look at the properties here. So we can see we've got this bar chart, right, where we've got sales agents, coloring it, and then we've got these policy types as the y-axis here, and the measure over the x-axis, the number of complaints. If we want to see this new feature, what we can do is we can go to, and this new feature, by the way, is pretty cool. So you can add basically different different labels to the values here, and in different interesting ways. But let me show you what that means. So if we pop into the properties, Man, she's running slow. And I think it's under. Oh, I've got my dashboard selected, not my individual. Let me pop back out real quick. Select the bar. Go to the properties. All right, and I believe it's under axis. If we scroll all the way down to the bottom here, data value labels, right? So we can maximize it real quick. So we can show the labels, just a normal, raw value here. But then we can also do some pretty interesting other stuff. So this value label format allows us to do a couple of different things in three different areas, right? So you've got things that relate to the delta. So if you had a target on this thing, and we could actually throw a target in there, it actually shows up or down, whether it's below or above, and it shows the actual delta between the target and the actual.
That's awesome.
Great. I mean, yeah, it's more like a KPI widget almost, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got some that are related to the color, right? So the color here, we've got the sales agent as the color. You can show either the percentage of color. So again, all the purples here. So for agent, you got 21%, 73%, 5%, and that makes up obviously 100. But you can also do value and percentage of category, or color, I should say, or category. You can actually do those either one of those options. So again, just like little quality of life, little interesting ways to show this data, and again showing more information in a condensed way, which is always welcome. Usually welcome, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's keep it simple, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it just, the kind of the one-click nature of it too is nice. Like you don't have to calc a delta, right? You can just click the button, which is a kind of one step above just letting me select a field to populate there. It's like, well, no, we're going to do it for you, which is even better.
Yeah, and let's throw a fake target on here real quick. Bum, bum. Yeah, we'll pretend like max claim amount is the target, even though that has nothing to do with anything. But that'll be our target. And then we'll go back into the properties here. And we'll show the delta version, which is, I think, really cool. So we'll show the percentage delta of target. So you can see it's above, it's below, it's missing by that much, right?
Yep.
That's pretty great. Again, imagine, showing, I don't know if anybody remembers the old Metric Studio days, but that was a really cool tool. If you're at a balanced scorecard shop, that was great. This kind of gets you a little bit closer to that, right? It shows you whether you're underperforming or overperforming and how, and at a glance, which is great.
Yep. Yeah. Shout out to Metric Studio. It was really cool. It left us before its time, I think.
I agree. Let's see. All right. Another interesting thing to just quickly show here is the tree map. I know I've got a tree map on here somewhere, I think on the policies. Policy details, not holders. All right. So get out of edit mode real quick and maximize this. We can see we can now show more information on a tree map, right? So we can see the label format, or we can see the label, and we can see the value all at once. This is also new functionality, but again, more information at a glance. I don't know. I can see value in not showing, for example, the label, right? So if you've got vehicle size here, then you've got the policy type beneath it. Maybe if that's hidden, it requires the user to do a little more digging. Obviously, when they see a very large chunk here, this one is 3.85K, right? Maybe you want them to hover over to see that it's actually two-door car. maybe you don't, right? Depends on your use case. But right now, the new feature that they added was the ability to show both the value itself and the label, which is cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And there have been a couple of other, interesting little changes like to the area visualization. There used to be gaps for like null values, and you can actually fill those in now. Different ways for data point interpolation, things like that. Not worth really showing here, but if you have any questions about that, again, go to your documentation, look at those release notes, and see what's new in that regard. So, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of bleed over in the reporting space. Drill throughs were changed a little bit. You can there's a new property and advanced parameter to allow context filters to be passed, which is great if that's really meaningful for you. Not a whole lot more done there, other than obviously the bleed over that you would see in the visualizations here.